The concept of fate and free will has haunted humanity for centuries. Do our actions determine our fate, or are we merely playing into what was determined for us long ago? Our question is, how do we satisfy concepts of agency and determinism in our world? In Vigil Strange I Kept by Walt Whitman, the speaker loses his son in battle. Instead of placing blame on himself or cursing out fate, he merely moves on with his grief, stating that, quote, "He rose from the chill ground and folded his soldier well in his blanket, and buried him where he fell," end quote. This is similar to one of our group members' outlook on fate and free will. If something happens, there is no use blaming past choices or the concept of fate. The best thing to do, in the moment, is move on with life. Things may be fated to happen, but that is the unknown. What we can control is our actions in the future, and that is what matters.
In the classic science fiction book Dune, the questions of fate and free will to a large degree guide the plot. Now, spoiler warning, if you don't want light spoilers for Dune, plug your ears. Paul gains the ability to see the future in accordance to an old Bene Gesserit prophecy, and after seeing a future of bloodshed, he tries to use his power and his own agency to avoid it. His prophetic vision works by allowing him to see clear paths in time, and several possible outcomes. He can influence reality with his knowledge by choosing what to do during Nexus events, or places and times where and when his vision is obscured. The spoiler is over now. Because of the influence over his fate and the fate of the universe, it can be said that Paul is using free will. However, we know that many of the things that occur in the text were prophesied and influenced by the Bene Gesserit, including Paul's very existence. Therefore, it could also be said that everything Paul does is fated to happen. Even so, Paul chooses and changes the present as anyone does, using his agency and free will, even if it will eventually result in a predetermined fate. Similarly, many sandbox games follow the same type of pattern of agency and determinism. For example, Minecraft, the game on which I reflected for the earlier Fate and Free Will poster project, has an end goal, a goal which the player is almost certainly destined to reach. That is, to slay the Ender Dragon. Additionally, there are several milestones and achievements along the way which are necessary to reach this goal. These things are fated to happen in a Minecraft player's world. However, the spaces between these milestones are vague and fluid, allowing for any amount of creativity or lack thereof. Here, the player has complete freedom to alter the world around them and be free to pursue whatever their heart desires. In these examples, fate plays a vital role, yes, but it is up to those with free will to accomplish what is fated. Consider Boethius, Roman logician and theologian, whose views on tragedy made sense of fate in the ancient world. Once a venerable scholar of the early 6th century, Boethius's luck flipped right on its head when King Theodoric charged him with conspiracy and sentenced him to death. From sitting with noble men of the most powerful empire in the world, to waiting in a jail cell for his execution, naturally Boethius was distraught. However, strangely enough, it wasn't his inevitable death that he was worried about. It was if he was led to this situation by fate or free will. As he was in jail, he documented his thoughts in the Consolation of Philosophy. Boethius concluded that he was grateful for his life and that his family was alive and well. His ultimate lesson is that, quote, "Nothing is miserable unless you think it so, and on the other hand, nothing brings happiness unless you are content with it," end quote. Note that after reflecting on his year in a concentration camp, psychoanalyst Viktor Frankl reached the same conclusion, quote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way," end quote. However, famous poet Edgar Allan Poe takes a more pessimistic approach to tragedy. In his poem, The Raven, an unnamed speaker mourns the loss of his love, Lenore. As he struggles through his turmoil, he wonders to himself if he will ever recover from her death. Suddenly, the raven enters and quotes, "Nevermore." The speaker descends into a state of paranoia and panic, as he believes it means he will never be able to escape Lenore's death. In this instance, we see how a tragedy of fate can either make or break someone. The speaker lets the horror of his past drive him, rather than rising above it.
Both perspectives imply that while there are driving forces that predispose our fate, we are able to make of it what we'd like. In other words, we have control over how much we learn from life. We can let tragedy ruin us or understand that everything provides an opportunity for learning, something new. There are many different paths a person may take, and it is ultimately up to the individual to choose how they approach life and achieve their destiny.